What's up? What's happening, folks? Welcome back to the channel, Sports, Life, and Politics TV. I'm Samuel Koppel, YouTube's #1 couch detective, and I'm here for the news. And today I'm going to be going over several news clips that is going on around the nation. And in a lot of these clips, you're going to see that the basis of these videos is that common sense isn't common anymore. That's something that my homeboy JB always says. Common sense ain't common no more. And that a lot of young black men, nobody's teaching them to use discernment, to be able to react without emotion, using logic. And it's something that has been a plague in our community for a very, very long time. Understanding that everything we do as young black men, especially when it's wrong in this country, which is not our rest, we're going to pay double. But let's take a look at some of these clips. Starting off with this one of Ricky Cobb, who got pulled over and was shot by a state trooper in Minnesota. Let's take a look.
Thanks for joining us at 10. Tonight, the Hennepin County Attorney is standing firmly by her decision to charge State Trooper Ryan Londrigan with murder in the shooting death of Ricky Cobb, despite dropping those charges yesterday, saying the case was unwinnable. Today, at a press conference, Moriarty taking punches at the governor's office, saying this case got very political. Morgan Wolf explains how the governor's office is now entangled in this case. Morgan?
Yes, this was a very high-profile and highly scrutinized case from the beginning. Governor Tim Walz said that he was about to take the case away from Moriarty, which wouldn't be the first time that's happened, but it is rare. A showdown between public servants.
Well, it was my hope that the county attorney would get to this position. That was very clear.
Governor Walz says that he was prepared to take the state trooper Ryan Londrigan murder case from Hennepin County Attorney Mary Moriarty. She says Walz didn't play a role in her decision to drop the charges, but it did impact her timing of the announcement.
Why is it appropriate for a governor who has never picked up the phone to call me, who is not a lawyer, who does not understand the nuances of this case, to talk about it publicly, to center Mr. Londrigan as being the victim in this case?
Walz says that he never calls county attorneys, and that's not his role, but it is his job to make sure that the justice system is fair.
And he kept talking about this.
Saying the justice system is fair is laughable. The justice system has never been fair, and it never will be fair. From time to time, justice is served, but overall, no, there's no such thing as fairness. And that's something that not only did, he's being disingenuous when he says that, but that's something that the young Negro, we're not even young, but no matter what age you are as a Negro, that we have to realize that there's no such thing. They have a term called being dead right. Dead wrong. But you can also be dead right. And sometimes common sense outweighs right and wrong. Seriously, not all the time, but in certain things where you might be right, but common sense should kick in and tell you, nah, I'm not going to try to be right on this one. Keep the video going.
Case that more and more came out, that there were deep concerns with it, and those continued to exacerbate.
Back in January, Moriarty charged Londrigan with second-degree murder, assault, and manslaughter, and Ricky Cobb II's death.
This was one of the hardest decisions I've ever made.
Now, reversing course.
I first want to acknowledge the Cobb family. They continue to grieve a devastating loss. Amid a political circus that has repeatedly tried to center Mr. Londrigan as the victim.
How about somebody being a little bit sorry for what Ryan Londrigan had to go through? How about one apology from the county attorney for putting him through it?
And this is the Minnesota State Trooper's lawyer, so he's fired up, making it like his officer is the victim. Can you be a victim and kill somebody? Yes, kinda, I guess. I guess both of y'all afterwards would be victim, but is the officer a victim in this case? Let's take a look.
This mess.
A fiery response from Londrigan's defense attorney. When Moriarty announced the charges, she said that Londrigan didn't follow training. State Patrol trainers say that Londrigan did follow the policy and was justified in his use of force.
In fact, the use of force expert that we talked to after that new information said that the tactics here were absolutely horrible.
Moriarty says that new evidence...
Well, if the tactics were horrible, then why wouldn't you be able to prosecute the case? That means that there was a lot of holes in the case, and it was going to be virtually impossible to get a jury to agree that they were in the wrong, basically.
Justified in his use of force.
In fact, the use of force expert that we talked to after that new information and said that the tactics here were absolutely horrible.
Moriarty says that new evidence led her to believe that a jury wouldn't convict Mondragon after hearing that he was going to testify that Cobb reached for his gun before the shots.
And for her to come out now and say, oh my gosh, I had no idea that the defense was hiding this great evidence, is just plain absurd.
Mondragon's defense pointing out on body camera video, the troopers asked Cobb to get out of that car 15 times before the troopers.
And let me say this real quick. If an officer, when you get pulled over by a police officer at nighttime, the smartest thing to do, if it's not pouring down rain, roll down all the windows, cut the lights on, already have your license and registration in your hand. If the officer asks you to get out of the car, get out of the car. A lot of times these guys, a lot of these guys racist, 100%. But the last thing they want to do is try to justify shooting you for absolutely no reason. Now, if they ask you to get out of the car 15 times and they go to grabbing on you and wrestling, they can easily say you reach for the gun. Did he reach for the gun? We'll never know. It's so hard to see when you're talking about wrestling with the gun. But obviously, when they looked at the body cam footage, they realized that this was going to be a difficult case to prosecute because you probably couldn't tell if he's reaching for the gun or not. So I mean, like I said, when you're a black man, aka a Negro, you have to just follow the rules. You don't always have to be right. Hey man, if they pulled you over illegal or you feel like something's not right, you can figure that shit out in court. Because once you're in the graveyard, you don't get a second shot at this shit.
Troopers told Cobb that he was under arrest and opened the car doors.
I didn't think that anybody, frankly, could be dumb enough to pursue this case this long.
Law enforcement organizations have stood by Mondragon from the beginning. Today, the State Troopers Association released a statement condemning Moriarty for what they call prosecutorial abuse of power, saying in part, quote, "It highlights significant ethical violations and political grandstanding that undermine the justice system's integrity." Now, through their attorneys, Cobb's family released a statement reading in part that the county attorney's office has bowed to political pressure to drop the charges. Apparently, all you have to do is get away with murder to bully the prosecutors enough, and the charges will just go away. We are expecting to hear from them tomorrow.
Like I said before, you guys, look. Using your common sense is something that we have to start teaching young black men. And some of these guys are old enough you would think they would have it, but a lot of people are raised by their moms. And even those of us who gained the common sense, who was raised by a female or whatnot and didn't have a lot of father figures or male figures in the home, you had to learn the hard way. Almost all of them did. All my partners, everybody I know who didn't have a father, they had to go to jail, they had to go to a boot camp, they had to do something to where they had to learn the hard way because nobody's teaching us. And it's sad and it's tragic. And, you know, a lot of people say, oh, well, it ain't right. The officer shouldn't have did such and such, but you ain't going to do nothing. It's not like they're going up to Minnesota to go put in some work. So we have to teach them how to survive those moments and get back to your family. As long as he's not dog walking you and where he just opened the car door and he slapped the shot, I understand if he just opened the door, but the body cam footage, it can somewhat help you now to where they can't just, like back in the day, they could used to just dog walk you before the body cams. Now they can't do it as easily as they used to. Look, sometimes young black men do get shot for absolutely no reason, but that's a rare occurrence, especially when you give them a reason or justification to feel like they can. Because once you get to the court system, it's going to be 70-30 they're going to get off. It used to be 100%, but at least now you got a shot at it. Let's take a look at this clip. 27-year-old man killed during Akron street party identified. And as you can see in the clip, I want you to watch, in this video, we're going to watch the picture of him and see what picture they used. This man, I think they said he has 3 or 4 kids. Let's take a look at this video.
News 5 begins now with breaking news.
That breaking news in North Olmsted, where police have arrested a woman accused of stabbing 2 people. Police say they received multiple 911 calls about a possible stabbing. When they arrived at that giant eagle, they found 2 victims in the parking lot.
The mayor says one of the victims is a 2-year-old. We're in North Olmsted working to get more information. You'll recall this is the same giant eagle where a woman was shot to death last summer.
If you know anything, this ain't about snitching. This is about justice. That's all we want for our son.
A message from a grieving family as the Akron community reels from the weekend violence that took a man's life. Tonight, Akron police are still looking for answers and suspects after 25 people were shot at a street party early Sunday morning.
One of those victims was killed, 27-year-old Lateris Cook. News 5's Bob Jones spoke with his heartbroken family. Bob also shares the 911 calls from that chaotic night.
Oh my God, I cannot believe this. Lord have mercy.
The 911 calls came flooding in just after midnight from the area of Kelly and 8th Avenue in East Akron from people who witnessed violence.
Like somebody just rolled through and just shot, just rolled passengers right by.
Even from some who were shot.
Kelly Avenue, I was shot. I'm in the yard. I was shot. I was grazed.
The violence has left the family of Lateris Cook devastated. The father of 4 kids with another baby on the way was killed in the hail of gunfire.
Juliana.
And let me say this, when you're 27 years old and you got 4 kids, should you be out at a street block party in the middle of the night? Probably not. Probably not the wisest thing to do. Like I said, that's something that is not taught in our community is moving with a purpose and doing things with a purpose and doing things in a, not a complete classy way all the time, but I mean like just moving like you have an understanding that there's a lot on the line. And as you can see, let's go back to this photo right quick. And as you can see, this young man was killed, and look at the photo they use of him smoking a blunt. So when his kids grow up, I don't know how old his kids is. Obviously he's 27, they're not too old. But when they see this, you got a picture of your daddy out smoking weed. He got a big blunt in his hand. This is on Channel 5 Cleveland News now. He's out, smoke still coming out of his mouth, big backwood in his hand. I mean, it just looks terrible. Did they have to use this photo? Absolutely not. But it does say something about decision making. Because when you out at them parties, what you looking for as a young black man? You looking for more work. Somebody else, they said he had 4 kids and 1 on the way. So his judgment already wasn't great. Because unless, listen to me, and I always leave room I can be wrong, unless he had 4 kids and was married to the woman, totally different. If you out here just making babies, out at block parties, this is the type of things that happen. Is it right? I'm not saying it's right. Did he deserve to die? Absolutely not. But it goes into decision making. Tragic.
Left the family of Lateris Cook devastated. The father of 4 kids with another baby on the way was killed in the hail of gunfire.
To be honest, I haven't accepted it yet. I don't think any of us has really accepted it yet because we haven't seen it.
Lateris' stepmom, Calandra Snow, says Lateris just went to the street birthday party to have fun.
We don't know what happened.
Of course he did.
to son exactly, except for he was murdered yesterday at a party.
24 other people were also shot. Some of them are still hospitalized. Investigators say some of the shots came from a rifle. 2 guns were recovered at the scene. In a press release today, Akron police said they're working around the clock, sifting through available evidence and conducting neighborhood canvasses as they try to solve a mass shooting.
Why would you drive in a crowd of people and shoot your gun? Did you get off on that? Did that do something for you?
A neighborhood camera captured some of the chaos, the sound of gunfire and people running after the shooting. Calandra urging anyone with information to come forward now.
If you know anything, this ain't about snitching. This is about justice. That's all we want for our son. I'm going to say it again, this was senseless.
Calandra says loved ones are now forced to focus on memories of Lateris, how he enjoyed playing football and basketball, and loved being with his children. The kids' lives also changed forever, as were so many after shots were fired at a party.
They're not dealing with loss, but they're dealing with heartbreak. And that's a lot. You can't put a heart back together. You can't put a Band-Aid on a heart. It's something that fixes over time, and you don't even have a time stamp on that.
We heard from city leaders at a press conference on Sunday. Today, we asked for one-on-one interviews with the mayor and the police chief. We were told there will be no interviews unless there's a shift or update in the investigation. In Akron, Bob Jones, News 5.
But once again, it's just another story of decision making. I mean, you know, when he's laid on the ground shot, in the moments, sometimes you might get shot and you die immediately, but sometimes there is that split moment that you get to, you know, what they say, your life flash before your eyes. Do you think you'd have rather been laid in that street or spending time with them 4 kids, or the mother of that baby, of that 4th baby, the 5th baby, who's on the way? I guarantee he would have rather been with them kids than out on the block party, smoking weed, drinking, laughing, dancing, and playing with a bunch of hooligans. Look, I understand. I was young, I was silly, but thank God I was able to make it through. But the reason why it's so important for me to convey these messages because I lived through a lot of this stuff. I seen how silly it was. I know how silly it was. I know what it's like to not use discernment. I know what it's like to not use your common sense. Even though I'm from Texas, common sense was damn near beaten into us. We have to choose not to use it, coming from where I come from. But it's sad. We didn't need another black father out of these homes. But yet, there's another black father out of these homes. Let's move on to the next story. Kindergarten teacher killed, husband arrested. Now, in a lot of these cases like this, there are two people who get together at a young age, have a child or two, and then the woman realizes this was a bad pick. And sometimes these men can't let it go. And a lot of times when men are abusive, especially when a man who's willing to kill, that abuse didn't just happen that day. That abuse trickles out over time. There's no doubt about that. That's how most all abusive men are. They start out looking like the greatest god or the greatest fairy tale cartoon movie ever made. And then over time, he might push you, slap you, kick you. He might break something. He might take your phone and throw it outside. And the abuse ratchets up. But as you can see, this is a beautiful young lady, and she was killed by her husband. He was arrested. Let's take a look at the clip.
We'll stay with I-Team 8 tonight and the disturbing murder of a kindergarten teacher. She had also become a mother recently when police say she had been killed by her husband. I-Team 8's Kat Sandoval is talking with her parents, sharing their heartbreak and what their message is tonight.
Just a few steps from where I'm standing is where they found 26-year-old Amber Morgan's body. She was brutally murdered, and we got a chance to speak to her parents.
This was a woman that they don't make them like that.
Corey Morgan described his daughter as a bright star who loved being a mother.
That Friday night, she went to Costco with her mother. And she took everything up 2 flights of stairs to having a 5-week-old baby.
That was the last time the parents saw her. Corey requested we call his daughter by her maiden name, Morgan. Her husband, Robert Cooley, confessed to the murder, telling officers, "I did something bad. I need to go to jail, and then later I took my wife's life." Police found Amber Saturday morning in her home.
Let me say this. These type of people, these type of males, they would rather see their woman dead than with somebody else. The thought of that, they just can't handle it. They can't handle it for 1 second. So that's why he immediately turned himself in. This was premeditated. I don't think he just snapped and did it. I think he had a little time to think about doing this. He probably, soon as the relationship get rocky, and then he realized that she's probably gonna move on because she's a beautiful young lady, and even though they had a kid together, she's probably gonna find another guy eventually. So he wasn't having that. He was never gonna accept that.
Police say her face was beaten so severely she was unrecognizable. She was shot in the head and her throat slit.
Wow.
Officers saw blood on Cooley's hands and clothing. Amber's parents say there were red flags with Cooley, but didn't think it would go this far.
He was verbally abusing her and what I would call starting to spiral out of control.
There it is.
A little shortly before the birth of the baby.
He threatened me. He tried to engage in a physical altercation with me.
Amber's mom tells us Amber asked for a petition for dissolution of marriage papers the night before she was killed.
There, yeah. That was the last draw.
And she told him something he didn't want to hear.
Amber was a kindergarten teacher at Victory Prep.
Oh, beautiful little
She
baby.
taught there for a year.
She just cared for others deeply. She just had a history of connecting with anyone.
Her husband faces a preliminary murder charge and is in Marion County Jail without bond. The parents tell me they will be adopting Amber's 5-week-old baby named Audrey. I'm IT-Mate's Kat Sandoval, Wish TV, wishtv.com, or follow us on Facebook for updates.
There's a lot of weak men like this, or weak males like this who would, honestly, he cared more about the relationship with her than he did their newborn child. There's no doubt about that. There's a lot of men like that, or males like that, who care more about the woman than they even do the children. And the thought of that woman leaving him, they don't care what happens to the kid after that. Now, once he gets in jail and time goes on, maybe, because you got so much time to think, maybe he might grow a little remorse about the child, but he didn't care about that child. He beat that lady till she was unrecognizable. Listen to what he did. He beat her till she was unrecognizable, shot her in the head, then slit her throat. You can't get no more demonic than that. That's weak and pathetic. And I hope they tear his ass up in jail. And believe you me, they will. Let's take another look at this case. Once again, the word discernment and common sense kicks in right here. Family responds to termination of Florida deputy accused of fatally shooting a United States airman. An airman get killed. Let's take a look at the clip.
U.S. Airman Roger Fortson is demanding charges against a now former Florida deputy who shot and killed him last month. They spoke today at Mount Zion Second Baptist Church in Atlanta.
I want justice for my child. You're not going to throw me a bone. Take his credentials, take his pension, let the world know why he resigned and came back. Bring up charges against him.
The sheriff of the Okaloosa County, Florida, the sheriff's department fired deputy Eddie Duran
This is where I want to stop the video, because this is the most important thing. When an officer knocks on your door, or anybody knock on your door in general, the first thing you ask is, who is it? When they say it's the police officer and you have a gun in your hand, you automatically put down the gun before you open the door. Like, why in God's name would you open the door with a pistol in your hand? Young black man. It makes no sense. Some people will say, hey, the officer doesn't have a right to start shooting just because he has a gun in his hand. That's 100% correct. But once again, you can be dead right. And this young man is dead right, because you don't get a second chance to do this. You don't answer the door with a gun in your hand with an officer. You don't know who this officer is. You don't know if he has a disdain for black people. You don't know if he's been in a shootout. You don't know if his partner got killed. You don't know what's going on in his mind. So common sense would tell you, don't open the door with a pistol in your hand. It makes no sense. Do I think the officer was wrong for just opening up fire? Yes. But do I think the young black man could have used a little common sense and discernment and not had that pistol in his hand? 100%. Because I want to see him alive. I don't care what happens to the officer at this point. I mean, should he, I don't say I don't care, but should he receive justice and all? But yeah, all that can be cool. He can go to jail and all that. But the young black man, he's never coming back.
last week after finding that his use of force was not reasonable. Rand shot Fortson while responding to a domestic disturbance call. Body camera video shows Fortson answering the door with a legally owned gun in his hand pointed at the ground. The deputy orders him to step back and then starts.
Yeah, the officer was wrong. He shouldn't have opened up fire, but it becomes a point where it's completely irrelevant because now he's gone. And there's no way that, like, if you say the officer is wrong, I want to ask you this question. Would you tell your child to answer the door with a pistol in your hand with an officer answering it, with an officer at the door? Would anybody ever advise anybody to do that? Absolutely not. God damn, JB was right. Common sense ain't common no more. And sometimes common sense should outweigh right and wrong because you could be dead wrong. Let's take a look at this next clip. We have Sean Kingston, the singer, artist. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's from the Caribbean. Might be from Jamaica somewhere. Him and his family, I think him and his mom was caught frauding. He was extradited from California back to Florida, where they say he was stealing and setting up all type of schemes and all type of shit. But let's take a look at the clip.
Hi, Sean Kingston, booked and charged in South Florida. The singer makes his first court appearance today following the raid 10 days ago at his home in Southwest Ranches. CBS News' my name is Joan Murray is live outside of the jail in Fort Lauderdale. And Joan, Kingston is still in there?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Jim. Now, just until a few days ago, as we all know, he is being held in California, but now he is up there in the Broward jail in a cell. And just a few hours ago, he went before a judge to find out exactly how he could be released from that jail cell. I'm Singer and rapper Sean Kingston put his recent California arrest front and center in his new music video, along with his mother taken into custody at their rented Southwest Ranches home. The two accused of stealing money, jewelry, a car, and furniture.
Mr. Anderson, good afternoon, sir. I have your attorneys, Mr. Rosenblatt and Mr. Zhang, on Zoom today.
Kingston, whose real name is Keshawn Anderson, was extradited back to Broward County over the weekend. At his bond hearing, Anderson listened intently as a judge outlined the 10 criminal charges, including an organized scheme to defraud, grand theft, fraud, criminal use of personal identification, and violation of probation for trafficking stolen property.
Mr. Anderson's probation is out of the state of California, and that is why I'm asking that Your Honor put that as a note on hold, because I don't know that the court has the authority to set a bond on a California violation of probation.
But Anderson's lawyer said since a Florida judge already set bond on the violation of probation, he should be eligible for release.
And if California wanted to hold him, I'm sure they wouldn't have extradited him to Florida.
Though it's been years since Kingston had a hit, spectators who...
They had a lie. It's been years since Kingston had a hit. It sounded like Kingston was trying to keep up with a particular lifestyle. And within that lifestyle, it sounded like he started to do a little scheming, a little fraud here and there. It probably started out small here and there, and then he realized, hey, I can make some real money off this since this music ain't popping no more. Music goes in waves. It's hard to sustain being a great artist over a long term, like a Drake or a Kendrick or a Jay-Z. That's very, very hard to do to stay hot. And once them artists not hot no more, you look for another way. Same happened to NBA, NFL players. They get caught up in schemes and frauds and selling drugs and all that type of stuff. You want to keep the lifestyle up.
Who knew him when came to watch what happened, including Laura, who said he had a concert at Florida State that was packed.
When I was growing up, I followed his music and popular Disney Channel shows that I would always watch. He would make guest appearances on and sing, and I've just always been a fan of his music.
Fans aside, the judge set bond at $100,000, and like his mother, Anderson is expected to be released from jail soon. Now, we did check with the court. He has to have a hearing to determine whether the bond funds are coming from any illegal activity, but that is supposed to all be straightened out shortly, and we do expect that he will be released on bond in the coming days. In Fort Lauderdale, Joan Murray, CBS News, Miami.
Well, Sean Kingston is guilty until he's proven innocent. I usually say you're innocent until proven guilty, but we know that's not true. Not true whatsoever. Let's take a look at this next clip. First time in the history of Mexico to have a woman president. What does that mean? Absolutely nothing, but we're going to take a look at the clip anyway, because if a woman became president in Mexico, you would always think that they got to be in cahoots with the cartels, because if not, something probably would have happened to her. Let's take a look at the clip.
For the first time in its history, Mexico will have a woman president in charge of the country.
So a change that has already generated opinions among Mexican authorities and fellow Mexican nationals in our state. Many seen it as a positive thing to happen.
Many of the people we spoke with today, mostly women, were optimistic about the first female president of Mexico. And from this side of the border, the expectation is growing. For Mrs. Fidelfa Batista, decades ago during her childhood in Oaxaca, Mexico, she says it was almost impossible to think about voting or even having a professional career. She says everything is different today, even more so after the election of the first woman president in her country, saying,
She said everything is different. That's a lie. The lie detector test determined that was a lie. Mexico still has a problem with cartels, beheadings, drug distribution, and gun smuggling, and it might be worse than it was when she was growing up. Nothing has changed in Mexico. That's a lie.
The culture of machismo did not allow women to advance, but now they take them into account. And there are several women in Arizona who today were optimistic about Claudia Sheinbaum's victory in Mexico. This woman saying, "I never thought I would live to see this day." Another saying, "I think a lot of good will come out of this because I believe she is a great woman."
Wait a minute, they not in Mexico. They in Tucson. Get the Ain't none of these people even voted for this woman. What kind of rigged up clip is this? I thought they was in fucking Mexico. I look at the license plates and shit say Arizona. Then I'm looking again like, it's Tucson? They in Tucson. Watch the air. Look at the look at the license plates. They in goddamn Arizona. How the hell you know what's good? You ain't even in Mexico. You done fled your homeland. Get out of here, lady.
See this day. Another saying, "I think a lot of good will come out of this because I believe she is a great woman." Marcia lives in Arizona. Her son disappeared in Sonora, Mexico a year ago. She claims she never received support or answers from the Mexican authorities.
See,
Nor did they locate
ain't nothing changed in Mexico.
Today, she hopes the new president does not forget the violence that is suffocating her country, saying,
Of course she will.
"I hope this administration
God damn, what she got 2 brains under that wrap? How many brains she got? This lady got is it another skull under there? How many skulls she got under there? I thought you get 1 skull per human. This is unbelievable.
listens to us and shows a little consideration to the mothers who have missing children."
I mean, it is what it is. Obviously, the West is okay with this. Do I think the Mexican elections are on the up and up and done with honor and integrity? Absolutely not. They're rigged and clearly some fraudulent shit going on. Let's go. I'm gonna hit you with a couple Vegas clips, real quick clips. And I'm gonna start doing that, adding these Vegas clips. There'll be a lot of wacky stuff going on in Vegas. Arrest made in deadly stabbing in East Vegas. Only 22 seconds. Let's take a look. As you can see, it looks like a homeless man. Whether he done it or not, he done it. He's not gonna be able to defend himself. So they're gonna get him off the street. Honestly, if he did do this, this is where the death penalty comes in, because now you're paying taxpayers paying for people who just in there who obviously was on the street doing nothing, and now as a taxpayer you got to pay for him. Let's take a look at him.
In other news tonight, Metro.
Mark, now look at this. What in the 1991 VHS porn tape is going on here? Who in the hell did done this lady's makeup and hair? What in the Bride of Frankenstein is going on? Where is the 2 bolts that go on the neck?
Police have arrested a man in connection to a deadly stabbing in the East Valley. 46-year-old Elvis Ruvalcaba is facing a charge of open murder with a deadly weapon. Police say the incident happened last Saturday. A man was found stabbed to death near a walking trail. This was near Lamb and Sahara. Ruvalcaba's first court date set for Tuesday.
I don't know what was going on with that. That's unbelievable. Vegas mother sent to prison for killing infant son. These type of people be on all type of drugs, psychedelics, narcotics, fentanyl, trank, and whatever other new drug is on the street. And they deserve to be punished severely. I say the death penalty, but I mean, whatever the most severe punishment is, that's what they deserve. And when they get to jail, hopefully she get dog walked. Let's take a look at this clip.
A Las Vegas mother who killed her infant will spend at least 8 more years behind bars.
Good.
According to police, 24-year-old Lindsay Bello told officers she had put the infant down for a nap, later finding him unresponsive. But the coroner report discovered that the infant, then it later indicated that the infant's father may have hit or stomped on the child. Perhaps the child had been hit with a blunt object. Bello was sentenced to 10 to 25 years in prison.
The father hit or stomped on the child. If you hit or stomp on a child, I don't know where people be at mentally. I mean, like I said, it's a lot of demonic beings running around nowadays, and it's just more and more of them. When I cover these news clips, it just gets worse and worse. And this is just a daily occurrence of people hurting and harming children. And a lot of these people are just truly sick. And a lot of times they was abused as children. So abusers abuse. But hopefully she did more. Hopefully within that 8 years, they find a way to give her some more time. It should have been life. Let's take a look at this. North Korea sends trash 600 more trash balloons to South Korea. Sound like a play. Sound like they running a hustle, a setup to to see how it works. Because I got a feeling these balloons eventually won't be full of trash. They'll be full of some kind of goddamn virus, or COVID, a biological agent. Who knows? But let's take a look at this clip.
North Korea sent around 600 more trash balloons into South Korea last night. South Korean military were seen collecting the balloons from an apartment complex. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff says North Korea has been flying these balloons towards the south since Tuesday. They're filled with manure, cigarette butts, and used batteries. Some of the balloons were found with timers, suggesting they were designed to pop those bags of trash in midair.
No. When shit really hit the fan between North Korea and South Korea, they'll be filled with biological agents. There's no doubt in my mind about that. Or whatever they fill with, it won't be anything good for the South Koreans. Let's take a look at this clip. It's very embarrassing, man says, who went viral for driving during court appearance on suspended license. Now, this case, there were a lot of people who came out and criticized this man to high heaven. I seen the clip. I was going to cover it. I said, well, let me wait. Sometimes I wait on stuff, and, a lot of times I don't want to be first. I want to get the most information so I can actually give a clear statement, and so we can have true understanding on what happened. It ain't always good to be first. Because if you're always trying to jump out there and be first, a lot of times you won't be right because you don't have the whole and full story. But let's take a look at this clip.
Went out to that viral video fallout after a man was seen driving during a virtual court hearing for driving on a suspended license. Today, Corey Harris talks about why he was behind the wheel, but he also says he should not have been charged in the first place.
And 7 News reporter Kimberly Craig talked to
And I won't say everybody criticized this man. The thing about when everybody criticizes you and it turns out that you were right and they were wrong, they're not going to come back with the same vigor of an apology. You're not getting that. Yeah. So this man took a lot of criticism in the media, especially even from a lot of black people.
and checked into that
And
system.
as you can see at this bottom clip, you see Stephen A. was criticizing the man. Everybody was criticizing this man to high heaven. He was on every news station. That black man took a lot of heat. It turned out he was right. Let's finish out the clip.
After he was busted driving on a suspended license, Corey Harris had to report
Look at Auntie.
to Washtenaw County Jail here. And today I asked him what everyone wants to know. What were you thinking?
What was I thinking? I was thinking about getting my...
Shout out to my boy Jay. What was I thinking? He wasn't. Little inside joke me and my partner got, but he said, what was I thinking? He wasn't.
Our wife, medical help. That's what I was thinking.
Corey Harris said that's why he was behind the wheel earlier this month when he appeared before District Court Judge Cedric Simpson, who knew Harris was appearing on a charge of driving while license suspended.
Mr. Harris, are you driving? Actually, I'm pulling into my doctor's office, actually. So just give me 1 second.
We spoke to Harris by phone today, and he said the doctor wanted to see his wife for some ongoing medical issues that had worsened, and he didn't think about anything but getting her there.
You stationary? I'm pulling in right now at this second. Yes, I am.
Corey Harris was cited for driving while license suspended in Pittsfield Township back in October. He said it was suspended for unpaid child support. Secretary of State records show his license was first suspended for child support back in 2010. But Harris told us he thought his license had been reinstated.
They were supposed to have been lifted it two years ago, but they didn't.
And according to the Saginaw County court records we found, Harris is right. In January 2022, a judge rescinded that suspension on his license, but for some reason that information never got to the Secretary of State, where even as of today, his license is still listed as suspended. The same.
And listen to me. Whose fault is that? Is that the people's fault or his fault? Look, when you're dealing with different government officials and driving license and all that type of stuff, you have to do your due diligence. There's no doubt about that. You have to call, check. Hey, my license was reinstated. Hey, I want to make sure that my license is such and such. I'm checking the status of my. You have to check that because these people on these jobs, they don't give a damn about your license. You give a damn about your license. So technically, yes, they were supposed to do it. But you have to do your own due diligence and make sure that your license is valid. There's no doubt about that. Even though he might be right.
Records the judge was going by.
This is a driver while license suspended,
That is correct, Your Honor.
and he was just driving. Failing to turn himself in will result in a bench warrant with no bond.
It's very embarrassing, and with the type of ties that I have with the church and the community, it's very embarrassing.
Thursday afternoon, Harris told us he was going to the Secretary of State's office to try to straighten out everything between them and friend of the court once and for all.
Always double check behind these workers.
Duh.
They will say that they will do something and they don't do it.
In Ann Arbor, Kimberly Craig, 7 News, Detroit.
Well, let's hope he gets that straightened out. Thank you, Kim.
Moral of that story, do your due diligence. Double check, triple check, make sure your stuff is right. Well, let's check out this last video of last video of the day. They have Dr. Fauci. Everybody remembers Dr. Fauci during the COVID situation where we had mask mandates and they were censoring people's speech on social media sites. And Dr. Fauci was just up here just lying left and right about all type of things. But now they're grilling. This ain't the first time they grilled him on Capitol Hill. They're grilling him again about a lot of these things. But let's take a look at Dr. Fauci, this little lying weasel.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, the man who helped lead the U.S. response on the COVID-19 pandemic, once again in the hot seat on Capitol Hill. He was grilled by U.S. lawmakers on the U.S. response to the pandemic.
This hearing follows a 15-month Republican-led investigation. CNN's Laura Aguirre breaks down the bitterly divided lines of questioning.
I want to thank you for your decades of public service. I'm sorry about the threats that you have received.
A cordial greeting soon eroded into partisan tensions.
Americans were aggressively bullied, shamed, and silenced for merely questioning or debating issues such as social distancing, masks, vaccines, or the origins of COVID.
The people who brought you the political big lie now bring you the medical big.
And as you can see, this guy that had a hair transplant, that's plain as day. He has bald hair on his head. This is unbelievable. A different definition of bald head. Look at this. He didn't use his pubic hair. That's outrageous.
Big lie, making the outlandish claim that Dr. Fauci was responsible for causing COVID-19.
Monday's public hearing follows closed-door testimony Dr. Anthony Fauci gave House lawmakers in January on the
The best testimony is the closed-door testimony. There's no doubt about that.
nation's COVID-19 response. He was grilled again on issues like social distancing.
The burdensome 6-foot social distancing rule did not have sufficient scientific report. In your words, it just sort of appeared.
When I said that it just appeared, it appeared. What I meant by no science behind it is that there wasn't a controlled trial that said compare 6 foot with 3 feet with 10 feet.
An answer seized by other panel members.
Making up guidelines like 6 feet distancing and masking of children. Do you think that's appropriate? Do the American people deserve to be abused like that, Mr. Fauci?
Dr. Fauci repeatedly denied claims by some Republicans that he covered up the origins of the pandemic and stood by his former testimony that the COVID-19 virus was most likely a natural occurrence, not created in a Chinese lab.
And you got to realize, listen to the wording. Excuse me. Listen to the wording, most likely. That means you got wiggle room when the facts actually come out. It's most likely, but, maybe kind of, sort of type, But Dr. Fauci, what a little scam artist. Him and Obama and all them Democrats. And I would say, listen, that's why they have the open testimony and the closed door testimony. Behind the scenes, a lot of times they talk about exactly what the agenda was, and what they were trying to do. They play good cop, bad cop out here. And all the Democrats that say, well, it wasn't as bad. He was just trying to explain, it was all new. We never had it happen before. And then the Republicans come out and excoriate him. He's not going to jail. You ain't going to fine him. You ain't throwing him in the federal penitentiary. You ain't going to, you're not going to freeze his assets. All this shit is for show, y'all. That's the moral of the story of this whole case, this whole thing, especially when it comes to government. It's all one big show. 100% allegedly.
I'm Laura Aguirre reporting.
But, it is what it is. Like I said, a lot of these clips, man, are I won't say entertaining, but they're interesting to watch because you can get a lot out of them. And you can get a lot of understanding of what you should and shouldn't be doing. And, common sense has to kick in a lot of these cases. I appreciate you guys tuning in. This has been Sports Life and Politics TV. I'm Samuel Koppel, YouTube's #1 couch detective. I'm here for the news. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. I just took your ass on the young black Negro has to learn to use discernment ride. Peace.